welcome our new Selectman Raj.
Thank
And I
you.
also want to send the board's thanks to Kevin McCormick for all the years of service he did to the town. He went above and beyond in a lot of things, and we're certainly proud of him, and want to thank him so much for his service. Okay, everyone's present. Reading acceptance of minutes from previous meeting, June 1st, 2016, regular session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
June 1st, 2016, executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
June 6th, 2016, regular session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, board reorganization. I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Ruccio as chairman.
A second.
I'll make a, can I make another motion, Nancy, or do we have to wait for votes? How does, I can't remember the order. I'd like to nominate somebody else.
You need to take action on each motion separately. So you need to, maybe, really should run the first motion first and then do a second motion.
All in favor?
Whoa, don't we have some discussion?
I'm sorry, you're right. I apologize, discussion.
I think that you, Mr. Hadley, should remain as chairman. I've been on many boards with Mr. Ruccio. He has valuable input, but I do not believe he has the demeanor that is necessary to be the chairman of the board, and that he tends to take a negative view on almost every aspect of anything that's being discussed.
I have some concerns myself. I think having a new town administrator, having Mr. Hadley already in the position, I do not feel comfortable having somebody else, Mr. Ruccio, represent the board or the town, and I feel that I have some strong questions, and I'm voting in a way that I feel is best for the town as well as this board.
Well, I think that Mr. Ruccio, after all the years he's been on the board, certainly deserves a chance to be the chairman, so, any other discussion? All right.
I do.
Okay.
I do respect Mr. Harley, and he's a good chairman, but at the same time, we do need to give a chance to the other members of the board. That's why, I do support Mr. Ruccio.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carried. All right. Can I make no motion now, or do I have to step down? You want to sit?
No, we don't have
I make a motion for Ms. Swanson to be vice chair.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I would make a motion Raj be the clerk.
Second.
I have no problem with that, that's fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, we don't have to change seats.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Next on the agenda is consider reorganization board, next on the agenda is consider designating other selectmen assignments. So for the 2016-17 year. So, earth removal board, Mr. Hadley was on it last year.
I have no problem saying no, unless somebody else wants it. You meet once a year.
Make a motion for Mr. Hadley.
Tomorrow, so.
Make a motion for Mr. Hadley.
Second. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is Townwide Planning Committee. Ms. Bonson was on it in the past.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, next, Upper Blackstone Water Pollution Abatement District.
We meet no times a year.
Mr. Crowley was the alternate, and I've heard they've done great things over there the past year.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Crowley be, do it again.
I'll second it.
If I could just ask, who is the alternate for? You? The town administrator? Who's the alternate? He has to be alternate for somebody. DPW director. So he's going to retire. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? MBTA, Ms. Bonson was on it last year.
Yeah, if somebody else wants it, I have no problem sharing it at all. I think we went to one, if any. So I do not mind sharing the wealth with my fellow board members.
I second it. Did you make a motion for?
I'll make a motion for Ms. Boston to remain.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Parks Facility Committee, Mr. Rucho and Mr. Crawley were on it in the past. I would, I'd make a motion for Raj if he wants to be on the Parks Facility Committee.
I do.
I'd like to stay on it as well.
And I guess, so I'd make a motion for Raj and Mr. Crawley.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? MWRA, another alternate. Mr. McCormick was on it. I don't recall any meetings, so anybody interested? Do we know what we do?
I'll take that one.
Okay. Mr.
Get all the good ones.
Anybody want to nominate Mr. Crowley?
I make a motion for Mr. Crowley to take that.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Affordable Housing Trust, Board of Trustees, Mr. Hadley was on it in the past.
I'd like to stay on that. We've done a lot of work on that.
I'll second.
I'll make a motion for Mr. Hadley.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? CMRPC, alternate, Mr. McCormick was on it in the past. Anybody interested? Does anybody know what we do if we meet?
I will take it.
They meet on a regular basis monthly, but the lead is the.
Chris Olson from the, Chris
Okay.
Olson from the planning board, he goes there.
So this person's the alternate for that
Yeah.
person?
All right, so I make a motion for Raj to be on the,
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bylaws Committee,
chair. Make a motion, Mr. Rucho.
Second.
Second?
any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Economic Development Committee, I've been on it in the past. I'd be interested in staying on it.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Municipal Building Committee, Mr. McCormick.
I do like it.
I'll make the motion for Raj.
Second.
Under discussion, what exactly, I mean, I know what it is, but can we just, do they meet regularly? Do they have money that,
They meet as needed. This was the special act that we got, so you know how we put the $9,900 in each line of every building? If you have a big project, any remaining funds in the line items go to that fund, and if you have a big project, you can go there and you can give an explanation and get funding.
so since we've done it, we haven't used money from it, right?
I don't believe so.
No, the library, I believe, used some of the...
No, they're 9,000, but then I guess if they don't use it, it comes back to this fund, you're saying?
Goes to that
Or
fund.
they can use it during the
Oh, right,
year?
Yep.
So I guess I would just ask that maybe we get a balance so we can see where that stands for the board. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then all the negotiations are over, so we don't need to do those, correct?
Now, the transportation committee,
Oh, Transportation Committee, ex officio, Mr. McCormick was on it in the past.
I'm interested.
Hear a motion?
I make a
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now in regards to the negotiations, all of them are finished, correct?
We will be beginning, fire department is finished, you'll be signing the contract tonight, I hope. And the DPW is just about to begin.
Just about to begin.
Right.
So, Mr. Hadley, you'll run it.
I'd like to do that again. I have a good rapport with them, I believe.
I'll make a motion for Mr. Hadley for DPW negotiations.
I'll
Yes.
second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And the school is all, everybody else is done. The next item on the agenda is cemetery trustee discussion of cemetery expansion.
We provided, I'm Jack McCormick, Chairman of the board. We provided you with a letter entitled Land Acquisition Cemetery Expansion. In reviewing that this evening before we came in, we realized that the 210 graves remaining was in error, and it's probably closer to 500. Okay?
So how long is that?
At your best guess.
Worst case scenario, 6 years. We're selling between 60 and 80 lots a year. We're burying about 50 people a year. We sell a lot of pre-need, assuming that somewhere along the line, someone's going to need it, and people buy them ahead of time. Usually what happens is when a family member dies, then everyone decides that, gee, I want to be near them, so we have a spike. I'm sure after tonight we'll have a spike because people will be afraid there won't be any lots. But we got about 500 graves left. Okay?
That includes the ones that you're presently laying out, is included in that 500 number?
Yes. That brings us up to the very end. There's about, the one, we just laid one out, and that's about 210, and the one next to it is about 210. And then we have some areas around the outside road, probably somewhere around 40, 50 there. And then, you know, there's lots within the cemetery, one here, one there, you know, somewhere like that. So we're talking about 500, around 500.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McCormick, does that include, like, when you go in and you take a right in the stone wall at the very, very end, is there anything beyond that?
Beyond that is MDC property,
Okay, that's what I thought, so,
is DCR property.
DCR, okay, so
And
that
we-
wall's it.
And
correct?
we have talked to them,
Okay, that was my
and we got a resounding no.
Oh, what a surprise.
And
Okay.
basically, what Mr. O'Day told us is if we would be willing to give them the rail trail, which is not ours to give away, by the way, they might consider giving us some land.
Okay,
So it's a big no.
okay.
And we've looked at, you know, some of their other properties, you know, on the backside of St. Luke's. We looked at that, and they don't want to talk about that either. We've looked at that property on, at the end of Winthrop Street. There's a nice square lot, and they use that for staging when they were putting the sewer system in.
Yeah.
That would be perfect, because
Access to 140?
well, you don't have to do a lot of moving the dirt around. Basically, we could do that, we wouldn't have to cut down a lot of trees. But our biggest problem is, we just need some land. And we need it in a timely fashion so that we can plan out a cemetery. You just don't do that overnight. You need to survey, you need to test the soil. Do we have ledge underneath? If there's ledge, then we have to build columbariums, which they're like little houses. And where you put the grave, the deceased person in there. So we need all of that. Then we need to fence the area, lay out roads, lay out sections. It doesn't happen overnight.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Assuming you had land
Yes.
that was cleared, I know we don't know what's going to, how long, you said it doesn't happen overnight, how long would you need from the time we acquired land to where it's usable as a cemetery? Are we talking months, a year, 18
I would
months?
get somewhere between, how fast we get money, and if we had, if it just required a little bit of money, that we probably could find. If it required a lot of money, we have to go back to town meeting. I'm guessing probably between 5 and 7, 8 years maybe. You should lay it out, and you're gonna have to hire an engineer, you're gonna have to send out quotes.
To lay out the cemetery will take 5 to 8 years, you're saying?
Hopefully not.
Well, then you need to establish roads in turf.
Yeah, once you get it and you lay out where everything's going, you've gotta plant good grass, because if you don't, you won't have that turf.
The answer is it is a year's process. This is not this is not something, we have a year left and we can act. It's,
We can't wait until we have a year.
okay, thank you.
It took,
Yep.
that section that we just put in down there, I bet you we talked about that for almost 10 years before we actually moved some dirt around, and then, we went to Mrs. Ransom, and she gave us an easement on the gravel, and we were able to push it all around, and everything came out nice. But that took a long time.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chairman? You said we have about 500, right, that are still for sale. What would the ideal, or is there an ideal number for, do you look like at the population of the town? How do we determine what a good number is or would be?
Well, we need probably between 15 and 20 acres of land,
Wow, okay, that's,
okay?
Mount Vernon is about 17 acres.
it is,
Yes.
okay,
So we need that and a little more.
and more.
We only sell to people who were either raised in town or live in town. We don't sell to outsiders.
Okay,
So if you lived in Worcester and you wanted, you said, gee, Mount Vernon's a nice cemetery, I want to be buried there. No, that can't happen. You have to have lived here as a kid, going to school, or you,
The service.
or you're living here now.
okay. I just have another question, Mr. Chairman. As a follow-up, you mentioned St. Luke's. Now, you mentioned St. Luke's.
Yes.
Over off of,
Yeah.
Route 110.
thank you. So there's no room in there for expansion?
Yeah, you probably could, get 50 or so more in there, but you'd have to have it surveyed. I don't know where the boundaries are on
But that is closed as of now, am I right?
Yes, and that doesn't belong to us.
Oh, okay, belongs.
That belongs to the Catholic Church.
Church, okay.
High Plains Cemetery belongs to the High Plains Cemetery Association,
Which is separate.
Oakdale.
Oakdale. Okay, all right,
And there's room in that cemetery, but it's not a town cemetery.
okay. That's what I.
It's not
was trying to
maintained
get straight in my
in
head.
any way other than at Memorial Day, we put flags over there. That's
The extent,
our contribution.
okay.
I have one question. Right. And this 15 to 20 acres, how many years we may?
Pardon?
That 15 to 20 acres of the land, how many graves and how many years we may? It all depends on how many.
I really can't tell you because, when we did this one here and we thought we were set for 30 years. What a surprise. It's been about 6 or 8 now and we're talking to you about we need some more space.
How many graves it may hold?
The whole
15,
cemetery.
how many? In 15 to 20 acres, say 20 acres.
Well, it all depends how it can be laid out, and each lot, you have to account for the burial, then you have to account for the vault. So it's like,
And out of 15 to 20 acres, you don't know if all of that's going to be usable.
Usable.
and then you also have to account for roads. You have to get people in and out of there at the time of someone's death.
So we will be safe for at least 10 years?
I would guess if we had that kind of land, we would probably be more than 10 years.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, currently, what do we have if we do nothing? How many spots. That's the 500?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this land that you're getting, how many more will that add?
What land am we?
Well, the acquisition of land, it says
Yes.
here.
Yeah,
That's,
We're looking for you to give us some land.
okay, but currently, right now, we have 500 spots.
We have approximately 500 graves left.
And the land that you want us to give you is where?
Well, Mr. Hadley had suggested at one point in time, at the far end of the senior housing project up near Pierce Street, there's a plot of land there,
Okay.
right behind Lamoureux's property.
That's,
There's a right-of-way in off of Pierce Street.
that's state-owned land. It's not, the town does not own that land.
Yes, but not all of it. You own some of it.
Not that I'm aware of. I know the state owns the, we're trying to purchase some of it for the Affordable Housing Trust right now.
Yeah.
I don't believe the town owns any of that.
There's a map showing. Excuse me. Here's the Preston Housing Authority, okay, see those buildings there? We're looking for this land right here. And the right-of-way would come off of Pierce Street and come into this. This is ECR land.
How big of a piece of land?
Right here. Right.
Through here. The one-
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? Anita, am I correct? I thought the town, state owns all this property.
The portion that's referred to as housing authority is owned by the housing authority, which is, kind of, it can be considered a quasi-state agency. It's not a specific agency of the town, it has state appointees. So it's, it would require state approval to use any of the housing authority land for other purposes.
Because
But this is what we'd be looking,
How many
Away
acres
from-
is that? How many acres is that?
because I don't know.
Okay.
Is there another location that you were thinking of if this doesn't work, or is this,
We've looked at the property that's on Prospect Street, where there used to be an old portable classroom. That's only 4,200 acres. 4,200 square feet.
oh, so
And we'd like to get a road in and turn around and come back out.
Yeah, no, no.
It wouldn't be worth putting the money into it.
42,000.
42,000.
Jeff, where are you? Right here?
no, no.
Right here.
Well, the
Here's
rest-
the Lamoureux property. This property right here. And you come off of it off of Pierce Street. And here would be the right of way.
We just had the survey, the only entrance on Pierce Street is through it's all water. There's no entrance on Pierce Street into that property. It's all,
Well, there's a right of way.
there is a right of way, you're right. There is a right of way there, but it's probably 40 feet wide.
Yeah.
But it's all wetlands up there.
Yeah, but I don't want up there, I want down here. This belongs to somebody else. This is what I want, in here.
But how are you going to get to it?
Yeah,
Is that the-
that's what I'm confused about.
That's the question.
Well, there's a road, there's a right of way, there's a road, a dirt road that leads in from Pierce Street back to this property.
Is it a dead end now, Jack?
Huh?
Is it a dead end now on Pierce Street? Is that, am I at the right
No,
section?
Pierce
Okay.
Street, the dead end would be way down here.
Okay,
Okay, this would be, just as you go over the knoll,
okay,
okay, Lamoureux's property, the house that's there.
yeah,
And then there's a road that goes back towards this property,
okay,
and they were cutting trees down there
okay. Have to
in
take a ride.
the recent past,
Okay.
okay? Did you see where I went?
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I don't know how much land there is.
Well, I guess we'd have to do some research to see, first of all, if we could give it to you and what the state approval would be. So there's no other choices that you know of in town.
I think the other help we could have is if the Board of Selectmen with our representative and senator to see if they could not assist us in getting some of the MDC property that we've identified, or DCR, I'm an old timer, it's still MDC. Because there are a couple spots that might work for us, but we've already been told that, you know, don't even bother asking.
I would say that we have tried in the past, and they've always asked for that same piece of land for trade of anything. So, I mean, I wouldn't rule out, though, calling our state senator and saying, here's where we stand, and what can we do? But, I mean, I know that they've always asked for the rail trail every time we ask for a piece of land.
Because according to Chapter 114 of the general laws, communities are required to provide land for burials. So, we're going to get between a rock and a hard place as time goes on.
So at the current cemetery, there's no land anywhere that can be, nothing left. We've used it all.
We're landlocked.
We've used it all.
MDC owns on one side, railroad,
On the other
we might be able to get a dozen, 2 dozen spots out of the railroad, because we own almost enough land to bury somebody on it. But we're just shot, your feet would be in the road. You know, I mean, we would have to relocate everything, you just couldn't do it.
No, it's not.
So, but we might be able to get some land from the railroad. But it wouldn't be worth spending a lot of money on, because it's just a little strip, you know?
Right. Mr. Hadley?
I don't know if anybody would know the answer to this. Can you use a property with conservation restriction on it for cemetery?
Can I use?
Well, I guess you're asking the
I
town
don't know.
administrator.
That would depend on the specific restriction. You know, there are certain allowed uses within different restrictions, so you really have to look at the document. Are you thinking of a specific parcel?
No, it just someone came in front of us on the conservation board to put a conservation restriction on. I'm just wondering if we kill 2 birds with 1 stone and do that. I'm not sure I don't even know if you could or not. I'm just asking out loud.
I think it would depend on the language in the restricted document that was signed. So we could, you know, if you thought of some parcels that would be potential, we could look at the actual restriction language on those and see what might be feasible.
We might have something coming up.
Behind the rectory and the house next door, is that where the DCR, or is that private property?
Behind the,
Right, behind the church rectory, at the
Yes.
Catholic church,
right.
and the next house over, behind them, is that the DCR land, or is there any potential that there might be some possibility of purchasing some of that land?
Well, you'd be taking land away from what is now the rectory,
Right,
and you'd be taking land away from the other one. I don't know if those houses would now become non-conforming.
okay. I'm just trying to
Okay.
picture in my
And
head.
then on the other end, there's a stone wall, and then over that is where Mrs. Kistler has a house down in the back there. But in between our stone wall and her house
Yeah.
is DCR land.
Okay, all right, I was trying to picture exactly where the
Yeah.
DCR.
Kind of this southern border of Mount Vernon,
Okay,
moving south
Yeah.
short ways.
thank you.
Yeah.
So you have no idea what the cost would be to develop this. I think it would be very expensive from what we're talking about for roads, but you don't even know that yet.
No.
You're not gonna do any research till we
Well,
find out if you can get it
It
first.
all depends what piece of property we get.
Right now, we only have one choice. 'Cause
But
we only have one choice, correct? This is the only property that you folks identified.
we could conceivably look at some property up off of Sanatorium Drive. You own that property too. That wouldn't be our first choice.
Paul Tierney, you mean?
Paul
Yeah, Paul Tierney Drive.
When we grew up, it was Sanatorium Drive.
Yeah, when we were growing up, it was Sanatorium
It
Drive.
was Hospital Road, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, right. I can understand why that wouldn't be
That wouldn't be our first choice.
right.
And the hard part is, a lot of the land in town is glacial till. So you start building a road in that, now you gotta rebuild the sections, the road, and but you gotta lay it out first.
Yeah. And until we,
Yeah.
until we know where we're going, and we can take some test borings, dig some holes and see what's underneath there, to ask somebody to come in and quote on it, it's just,
Right, it's too soon.
we're spinning wheels. I mean, when you first start off, you start off with a gravel road, and then you work your way up.
Right.
But before you can even do that, you gotta know where you're going. The land has to be surveyed, because you don't want to encroach on someone else's land. You know?
I know, yeah.
And we're not in a position to go to someone who owns land and say, can we buy it? We don't have that kind of, we don't have any money to start with. And so to go there and do that wouldn't be practical for us.
Do we know if CPC funds could be used for something like this? To buy the land, I think, then we could, if the town could buy it and then turn it over to the,
And that goes back to the restriction. You can purchase CPC land for open space.
Open space,
only.
but I don't think cemetery use would be considered eligible open space use.
That I don't know. I mean, I could find that out through the Community Preservation Coalition, but I would tend to say
I would think not, but why don't
probably
we-
not. I could certainly ask.
I guess maybe our next, we can bring that up and see if CPC funds can be used. Then we have to identify a piece of land even if we have the money. So,
Well, we wanted to start the conversation.
I understand, right.
Because right here, I can see it may take you a year to be able to identify a piece of property first. So that clock is working. Okay?
It might take time just to find out if we can use this land that we currently have.
Yeah.
So, anybody else have any other discussion? I think, maybe.
Is there any private property we could buy?
That's what we're saying, we don't really know.
Not only the conservation restriction, but
Yeah, I personally don't know the answer. I mean, I guess we can, if you folks come up with something that you think, and we can look at it.
Mr. Chairman, there's one way to approach that. If we're looking to try to identify land that's privately owned, we could actually do a request for proposals, seeking proposals from landowners who might be willing to sell their land to the town, for this specific purpose, and see what's out there. It doesn't put us as an obligation to buy anything. It just puts, helps us be aware of what's out there that we could then give further consideration. So that might be something that we would want to talk about, actually, in our goal-setting process, to see if that's something we might want to work on in this next year.
Right. Yeah, I would say that we put it on a future agenda maybe, and we discuss. I guess one of the questions I would ask, just to see about the housing authority land, if it can be used before we even say that's a possibility, if we find out it can't even be used, the housing authority would have to have no need to use it either. Right now, they have none, but there is talks.
Well, the state wants houses built, and that's what we've been working
They would-
back and forth with them for a long time, so I don't know how they feel about that,
And
but
that's the land you've been looking at. where to put it.
absolutely is, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's a shame that in 1890, the state gutted this town and gave us little. I think there's a duty and obligation on behalf of political life in Boston to sustain this town. We don't ask for much. And I would be hard pressed to say that they would deny us.
You ever talked to bosses lately?
Oh, yeah, I've dealt with Boston on other things, but
They've been here plenty of times telling us.
And they will say we do ask for a lot. You say we don't ask for much, but they would say. So I think contacting Representative O'Day and Senator Chandler also, to at least start them looking for us too, I think would be a good idea, so. That's, if you have nothing else, then, I mean,
We have one more thing that I'd like to encourage the board to finally move on the reclassification, because we feel that our employee is underpaid, but we can't do anything until that reclassification instrument that you commissioned with a consultant gets passed by you folks. So we're looking forward to that in this coming year too, please.
Jim, could you just give us maybe forward us some salaries of other cemetery people around other towns, so we
We
can
can
get a
do
fair
that.
assessment.
We can get that for you.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
Okay,
Whether
gentlemen.
and whether they're salaried or whether they're hourly.
Exactly.
Because what happens now is he is required to work on a Saturday, because when someone dies, you can't tell, you gotta wait until Monday, because I don't work Saturday. So he comes in and he can't get paid. And that's not, I don't think that's terribly fair.
No, I don't
I
disagree.
agree. That's not fair.
You know, we can give him some comp time, but you can't turn in X number of hours of comp time for a pair of sneakers when your kid needs sneakers. You just can't do it. It doesn't work.
And it's not like we don't have a lot of staff over there either.
No, we have one full-time person and one part-time person, and that's what we do. We get it done.
The proof's in the pudding.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is considering accepting a donation in the amount of $250 for the bandstand from Susan Miola Properties on behalf of the town.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is consider approving the hiring of Myra Fortuno for the position of Administrative Assessor effective July 2nd, 2016, for 25 hours a week.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this replacing someone who's left?
Yes.
It's replacing someone who's retiring.
Can I, Mr. Chairman, are they overlapping or is the retirement?
There will be some overlapping. The woman who is retiring was kind enough to agree to stay on a very part-time basis for a while, so that it allows a few hours a week for some period of time to help train the new person coming on board.
Okay. And, Mr. Chairman, just, who did the interviews for this? Was there a group or?
The assessors, the Board of
Okay, so-
Assessors.
And this is
So
his
they're this is their
recommendation.
choice.
Okay, that's what I wanted, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. Consider approving a finance reserve fund transfer in the amount of $1,865.85 to pay for snow and ice expenditures.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm assuming this is the last of the over budget on the snow and ice?
It
This
is.
is just a cleanup of it?
Exactly, yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consider year-end budget adjustments. Building inspector, $3,250. That will be coming from Finance Director Purchase Services, $3,250, going to the building inspector's salary and wages, $2,250, and inspection, other charges, $1,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Go ahead, Pat.
Go ahead, Sean.
I'm just wondering why this came up, why we ran short.
Most of it's based on number of inspections that had to be done. When the budget was put together for FY16, we, really wasn't anticipated that we'd have the new construction that's taking place at the rate it is right now.
Okay.
So this is to cover those additional inspections that are required for that construction.
Okay.
Mr. Crowley?
The building inspector's office charges fees for permits. And is this, ultimately, will that revolving fund pay for the salaries, or what's the relationship? I mean, more inspections means more money coming in.
Right.
So why do we have to hit the finance committee reserve fund?
This is not a revolving fund.
Correct.
This money that comes in for the fees goes into general funds.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is library, $1,600. That will come from library salary and wages, $1,600, and go to library purchase services, $1,600. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, I'm just wondering what the shortfall was.
In their form, they're describing it as having unforeseen boiler repairs and emergency calls that were required. So they're looking to, they're also saying they spent more money on the water and sewer bills than was budgeted for. They also paid for water system monitoring to prevent the scaling and buildup of the heating and cooling pipes in the system. So they're basically legitimate service calls for the building maintenance.
So it comes under, did you say personnel? I thought when you,
It's coming from library salaries and wages. I don't know if everybody has these. Does everybody have a copy of these in front of them?
There should be packets in in front of you.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Under
so
the
it's
amended
coming
agenda.
from the library salary and wages, $1,600, which they have a current balance of $22,126, and going to library purchase services for $1,600.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I do have a question. They do mention snow removal. So what is that snow removal?
I can't speak to that, I don't know.
But the DPW does the work, right?
Mike?
I do not know, but they do, perhaps it might have been somebody
Sucks.
digging out the entryways. I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is town clerk, $500. This will be coming from town clerk purchase services and going to town clerk salary and wages.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next would be elections, $600. I guess it's coming from election other charges and going to election salary and wages.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is consider request for transit vendor licenses for the Pinecroft Farmers Market, Warm Rocky Farm, Simply Sweet by Susan, Black Thistle Farm LLC, Violet Culinary Enhancements, and Bark Natural Products.
Making a motion to approve the transient vendor licenses for the 5 vendors.
Second.
Any discussion? Just do we need anything, no one has to look at these before we give these out? Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Finalization on the new fire union contract.
I'm pleased to say that the union voted to ratify the contract as was last proposed, offered by the Board of Selectmen, so we have the final document ready for the board to sign tonight. The union signed it today.
Great.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we sign the contract.
I'll
Second.
second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that would be in here, in this signature file.
There should be 3 originals there to sign.
Okay.
Can you open it back up?
I did the other 2. And I'll pass these down too.
We're going to need to do a report while we're doing this.
I think that's gonna. And I'll pass the licenses down.
one more. These are the licenses that we have to sign.
And all the transfers, I just signed these? On the clerk.
Signature sheet.
It just says signature.
That would be by the chairman.
Okay. I think we can start town administrative reports. You can take them in any order you'd like to.
Okay. Starting with the architectural services for the senior center conceptual design. The central register notices out there, so we have been daily receiving multiple requests from architectural firms asking for the request for proposals document. So right now, I have sent out the request for proposals document to over 45 architectural firms, which is a tremendous response. Rather surprising, to be quite honest. So the next step is that proposals are due into the town by June 30th. The FISC committee will be reviewing those proposals and evaluating them to make sure that each proposal meets the minimum qualifications, and then we'll be going through a ranking process to determine, you know, which top firms the FISC committee may want to bring in for interviews, and then who they would recommend to the Board of Selectmen for award of a contract. So I'm just very pleased. I really hope that this response we're getting to the, you know, to the central register notice is indicative of the number of responses we might be receiving from qualified firms. So that's quite exciting.
Okay, if we could just, I forgot to bring up one thing. In regards to the fire contract, I'd like to thank the fire chief for the hours that he put in on this, and also Mr. McCormick, who was on the board and helped you with that. I mean, you guys did a great job. I mean, Chief, I'm sure you're relieved that it's finally.
See where we go from here.
Yes, I know there's a lot of work ahead of you.
Everybody put in there. Nancy did a lot for us.
Town administrator and then Nancy.
Definitely the administrator, and I thank the board for that.
No, thank you very much, but I'm sorry.
No, that's a good notice. The next item is just a concern about the capped landfill. We received a request from DEP to meet with them to discuss the second quarter landfill monitoring report from 2015. And so I was reviewing it, and what the report shows is that there's one component, one chemical, volatile organic chemical, that's called 1,4 dioxane, and that is just above the acceptable standards for drinking water standards. So they had said they'd like to meet with us about that. So I have a meeting scheduled for them, I believe it's next week, on June 22nd. And I don't know what they're going to require of us. When you read through the testing report, the testing agency has a recommendation that we just continue with the current standards of testing, the frequency, the type of testing. So I'm not really sure what DEP is going to be requiring of us, but I just wanted to put the board kind of on alert that that may be something that they're going to have an expectation of more frequent testing or a different type of testing on that, obviously, which we wouldn't have budgeted for FY17.
Yes.
So I'll keep you informed on that.
Yes, question with it. Is that the latest quarter they've had, the second quarter of 15?
I have not seen any other reports, so I can't speak to that. This is the latest that we have received in office.
Okay.
So again, I'll keep you apprised as to what happens with that conversation with DEP. Next item was just more trying to get some sense from the board as to whether or not you wanted me to put any energy into this. When meeting with town residents, talking about goals that the board might want to consider for FY17, several people have mentioned this concept of asking the state, Mass DOT, to take over responsibility of Route 140. And that there had been some, justification of that by saying that, this would allow DCR to be more confident about the water quality standards. If they're if the state is the one maintaining Route 140, then, they can be assured that the plowing operations, the the combination of sand and salt that's used for snow and ice removal would be to their standards. Obviously, if we could get them to take over the responsibility of Route 140, you know, that would be a tremendous savings to the town. But I just wasn't sure, you know, we're in current conversations with DCR right now and some other matters dealing with Route 140. I was thinking if this was something that you did want us to try to bring a conversation to them about, we should probably start that now. I just wanted to get some guidance from the board. Is this something you want to talk more about perhaps when we do our goal setting? Or is it something that you feel that I should put some feelers out to the state to see whether it's even feasible for them to consider taking over this roadway? They certainly do this in other communities. But there's typically a justification for it. In our instance, the justification might be, you know, the water quality for, not, you know, for the reservoir. Just looking for some guidance from the board.
I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea. If the state's willing to plow a road, it'll be plowed and it comes out of state money instead of our money. They're not gonna do it wrong. So I feel that we should absolutely pursue it to see if the state would be willing to take it over.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's to give anything to the state that we have to maintain is a great idea, but I know when the DPW director, and when we met with the DCR and the state, they said sometimes, like, if the state was to maintain the sidewalks, they might not get there for 24, 48 hours. I know a street would be different.
Street would be different.
It would be different, but we have to make sure that this is one of their priorities on their list, you know, because right now, as we all know, that the road's pretty good when we wake up in the morning on a snowy day. So, but I think turning anything over to the state and not us having to maintain it is a great idea, so whatever you feel what the next step would be.
So I'll reach out to Mass DOT District 3 and just start the conversation and see what their initial reaction is.
And
Do
then I
we,
guess-
sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, from like mental recollection here, we've always taken care of it, is that correct?
We've been doing all the plowing. And
Like
sanding.
forever? Okay. I think it is a good idea. I wonder if there are certain guidelines that have to be met before they would take it over. Like when we've had the state in here, we've, you know, been turned down on other things, so not knowing what their budget's like, it doesn't hurt to ask, but on the other hand, it would be something for them to take
It's an
out of their
expense for them
budget.
to
Right,
consider
so.
as well. So, you know, it's nothing that would be determined quickly or lightly, but at least
Yeah.
it makes sense to get the conversation going.
Do they do it in other towns?
They
a
have
lot?
been working with other communities.
Okay.
Town of Bolton was the most recent example. They were looking to take over the care, custody, and control of Route 117, major roadway in town.
Okay.
So, you know, it is something that they have considered for other communities, so it's
Okay.
worth asking the question.
Yep.
As you travel down 140, do we know if the state takes care of any of it?
I do not know. That'll be
Okay,
part
I
of the
think that would be,
discussion.
and I think you were right, one of the biggest issues would be the DCR property and the water, and I know they're doing all that drainage, so that would be it. So whatever, bring back to us, you know, your findings.
Very good. Thanks for that feedback. Just wanted to update the board on some economic development incentives. Two projects now. We have had a second business owner come forward requesting consideration by the town for tax reduction incentives. The owner of Checkerboard came in and met with me briefly the other day to see what the process is for looking for tax incremental financing or tax incentives that they might be eligible for or be feasibly be considered for their business. They're looking to not expand so much the footprint of that building, but to do major improvements within the building so that they would break out certain areas and make them offer them to additional businesses within. So more a remodification of the existing structure. So I did refer them back to the Mass Office of Business Development. That's really the first step in starting the conversation. So they were going to do that, but just want to let you know that that initial inquiry has been made. But the other thing, which does require more action on the town, is the fact that we did receive a formal letter of intent by DNS Realty for their property at 7D Hartwell. And I had previously, mentioned this to the board, that they were meeting with us to discuss what that process would be. So we have received the formal letter of intent. intent. I did have a phone conference call with the owner of D&S Realty, with the representative from the manufacturing company that's currently located in Worcester that wants to relocate to 70 Hartwell. And also on that conference call were representatives of the Mass Office of Business Development and Mass Development. Mass Development apparently would be providing the financing to the manufacturing company to do the building improvements at 70 Hartwell. So this is a significant building improvement that they're talking about doing to allow this manufacturing company to come in. They're looking to add an additional 110,000 square feet of manufacturing and warehouse space, significant size increase. And they'll be bringing 150 regular employees plus additional seasonal employees. Steve McGridgian, who I apologize, I'm not saying his name correctly, has submitted that formal letter of intent. And in speaking with all of the parties the other day, they're looking to have the town try to move ahead quickly on this. They'd like to have the town start negotiations on a potential TIF, different scenarios, as quickly as possible. And they're also asking the Board of Selectmen to schedule a special town meeting this summer so that a town meeting decision could be made prior to the August 26th deadline that the state has for filing of that application for the state level improvement. This process requires that the TIF agreement or any tax incentive needs to be negotiated at the town level, approved by the Board of Selectmen, and then taken to town meeting for a vote at that level. Then and only then can it go to the state to be approved for final approval by the state. So I have two specific requests that I'd like the board to vote on tonight. The first one is to authorize myself and a member of the board to begin that negotiation of TIF options with the manufacturing company. And the second is to schedule a special town meeting for a date to be determined prior to August 26th. So I have two proposed motions here, if the board is willing or ready to take that step.
Any discussion?
Can I ask? What kind of manufacturing?
It's
Do you know?
manufacturing of enclosures for all-terrain vehicles, tractors, that type of thing.
They do have a company in Worcester?
It's an existing company. They prefer to have their name not be mentioned at this time because they haven't,
Oh, okay.
they haven't finalized their lease. It's in process, but they haven't finalized the lease yet. So until I get a green light from them, I prefer that we not mention the company's name. But the fact that we have received this formal letter of intent from D&S Realty speaks volumes in terms of, the fact that they will be coming forward.
Thank you.
If we are going to move forward, I'd like to make a request that I be the designee, based on my background in accounting, to negotiate the TIF.
I guess the only thing I would say is, Mr. Hadley, I mean, I know you've worked very hard on the Economic Development Committee on this.
I'd be happy to
We've
work
talked
with that.
about it.
Work together? You want to do it by yourself?
We can both do it, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have an issue with two of us,
No,
right?
not at all.
And John can bring back to the economic, because we've been working for years on this
Okay.
exact thing, so.
I'd just like to be involved.
Absolutely, that's great.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
A motion that we accept the request. Oh, sorry. I move that we authorize Anita Shipes and Mr. Crowley and Mr. Hadley to begin review of TIF options for 70 Hartwell Street and to commence negotiations with the manufacturing company immediately, with the intent to bring a workable proposal to the Board of Selectmen for review and consideration by mid-July.
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next, what was the other,
This is for scheduling a special town meeting. Obviously, we would need to have the town meeting vote take place before that August 26th deadline. So looking at the calendar, I'm offering two potential dates of August 8th or August 15th. Obviously, that would be, dependent on receiving confirmation that space is available at the school for either of those dates, and that the town clerk would be, available to assist in running that special town meeting.
and this has to be done quickly.
It takes a good 6 weeks to put together a special town meeting process.
Right,
So
so
we would
we-
need to start moving on this. you know, if we found that we were just simply not able to negotiate a TIF, then, you know, we would not need to move ahead with the special town meeting. But we would, because of the time frame in terms of getting ready for a special town meeting, we would have to assume that we would have to find a date to move ahead on this.
I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a meeting for whichever date is more feasible, and assuming that we can negotiate a tip, which I don't see why we couldn't.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Do we have an estimated cost of what the special town meeting would cost us? I know we talked about it at one point when this came to us like a month or so ago. Do we have even like a ballpark?
It's mainly the mailing, correct?
It has to do with the mailing. Typically, it runs in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
Okay, all right, just so I have an
And it may
idea.
be less here with the way that we do the mailings, since we, you know, we don't. Some communities send everything out in that mailing. We do
Okay.
it on a lesser basis, but if you figure $2,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Crowell?
One of my concerns is if we have a meeting on August 8th or 15th, getting a quorum.
Exactly.
So my suggestion would be, let's try to do it as early as possible, the earlier date if it's possible, so that we would get a second bite at the apple if we don't get a quorum. I know in the past we've had issues when it's just a one item that people aren't very passionate about.
Right, so if we aim toward the 8th, then we potentially have the 15th as a backup date if we have to try again.
8th of, what were the two dates again?
8th or the 15th?
Of August?
Mm-hmm.
I think the other issue's gonna be mid-August.
Yeah, it's,
Not to mention interest, but getting
No, it's
the
gonna be
vacation
hard.
time.
It's going to take a lot of energy to make sure people are aware of the special town meeting and make them realize it's important enough to come out for a very short, you know, for this discussion.
So there's no way to move it to September? It would be,
No, we have to meet that August 26th deadline.
right, I remember talking about that.
The only time that we could request an extension on that would be if we attempted to hold a town meeting, failed to get a quorum, and had to schedule it for a later date. The Mass Office of Business Development does have an exception for that, so they would allow us to move forward, conditional upon the town meeting being held, though, before their actual hearing, which is in September.
So if we don't get a quorum, then on those two, if we have those two dates, we don't get a quorum, we might be able to ask for an extension and try again in September? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
if we don't get a quorum and can't make these deadlines, is that going to ruin this whole deal, or are they willing to, or do they have the ability to wait if, you know, we're in a good faith negotiation and it just doesn't happen?
There are certain deadlines, there's only certain times of the year that the state reviews these incentives. So they're looking, they have a very specific schedule. So obviously, the manufacturing company is looking to try to get this approved both locally and at the state as quickly as possible because they want to move ahead with construction while they can. There's a meeting that is being held next week. Obviously, it's not possible at all to meet that deadline. So they would be aiming to have everything in place for the Economic Assistance Coordinating Council to meet on September 21st. That means that we would have to meet that August 26th deadline for them. If for some reason we fail and are unable to do that, they would then be looking at the December 13th meeting at the state level, which really feels, they feel that will not work for them at all. That would really cause a problem.
So, but my question is, if we are doing, you know, we negotiated and we do everything we said we would do, but just can't get a quorum, is that going to sink the whole deal and they're just going to walk away and break their lease or whatever, or do you not know? I don't know if you're privy to that.
Obviously, we haven't had that level of discussion with them, but, you know, obviously this deal is working for them because they, you know, are looking for tax benefits from the town. They're looking for potential tax benefits from the state. They're not sure yet whether they'd be eligible for that. And they're also trying to coordinate all this financing with mass development. So there's a lot of pieces that they need to put into play. You know, they made a very clear statement during the phone conference that they could not wait until the latter part of the year to put this ahead. So if there was any indication that it wasn't going to work in time to get approvals at that September meeting at the state level, that could indeed, you know, cause them to rethink their lease agreement. And we're not privy to what the lease agreement is. We're not sure if there's conditions in there for them to pull out. if the state approval doesn't move ahead. I would assume that there would be.
I think you two will, yeah, I think we'll get more information when we meet with them, but, but they'd have the same situation if they were going to another town. They'd all,
It depends on where they're going to. If they're going to a community that has a town council form of government, they don't have to go through
Right.
that town meeting process, so it's far easier for them. The other thing I want to point out, though, because, you know, I think this being the first time that we're really seriously looking at a potential TIF, I think it's important to point out for people that TIF agreements aren't reducing the amount of taxes that we would be getting in for the property. A TIF agreement basically stands on the fact that we would continue to get the same level of taxes that we've been getting for that property, but it's the taxes for the new improvements on the property that we would be developing a tax agreement for. And they're typically phased over a period of, say, 10 years to 20 years. It can range between 5 and 20, depending on the amount of TIF that they're looking for. And so we would only be increasing the number of tax dollars that we'd be getting in for that property, even during the period of the TIF itself. And then at the end of the TIF, we would be getting full tax dollars for the property. If we were not to move ahead with the TIF, we likely would not see any increase in taxes for that property because those improvements that are being proposed would not be made. The company would go elsewhere. So I think that's something that we're really going to have help people understand what a TIF means in terms of impact on our taxes.
I think it's a great idea, so we just have to. Okay, next, do you have anything else?
One other thing, people had asked for an update on where we stand with the sidewalks and the
I'm
improvements
sorry,
that are being...
did we vote on that last one? We had a motion and a second. And was that part of discussion?
We didn't vote on it.
Yeah, I don't think we voted on it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. People were asking for an update as to the sidewalks. People may have noticed that work has stopped on the sidewalks right now. That was a planned phasing of the work. The company involved, PJ Keating, wanted to wait to do the rest of the work after the school is out for the season. So when school is out, they will be starting to work along the sidewalks at the schools, and they'll also be going back to finish up the various different small project areas that you're seeing around town where corners might not have been fully installed, that type of thing. So work will begin again as soon as school is out.
And then this section that's up the street, that'll be finished to Route 12, I'm assuming?
Every area that's you know, at a standstill, all the work is being added to punch list. So they're coming back to do all those different areas that are still outstanding. Then we have the opportunity to go through the punch list to make sure that everything's completed according to the specifications.
Okay, if there's not already part of it, when that road is done up the street here, a crosswalk across Route 12, I don't know if the state does that, the town does that, whoever does it, can we start that process now? So we can get, unless, I don't think there's any other places, all the other spots, we already, I believe, have sidewalks, unless by the school, I mean, have crosswalks, but by the school, if anything's moved, I think we can do that.
Are you looking at the intersection of Franklin and 12?
Right up the street here, Frank, across Route 12. There's not, we're gonna have two ends of, we're gonna have two sidewalks that actually connect.
Okay. Let me check on that.
Yeah, because if it's the state, I think maybe if we ask now, we can try to get it done.
You're gonna run across
Or the
that street.
TIF agreements agreed on.
Okay.
Maybe the same time we ask them to take over 140, you know?
I don't know, let's try to get a crosswalk. And then-
And that's the end of my report.
Okay, meeting and invitation and announcements, June 22nd, 7 PM, the FISC is meeting here in this meeting room. And also, the Massachusetts Historical Commission is pleased to inform you that the Beaman Memorial Public Library, West Boylston, Massachusetts, was accepted by the National Park Service, Department of the Interior, for listing in the National Register of Historic Places on May 16, 2016. So I think they've been working hard on that, so
It's great to know it went through.
that's great. Okay, next item is selectmen reports. Any selectmen reports? Yes, Mr. Pedler?
I used to, a resident on Goodale Street complained about speeding, so I just mean if the chief could take a look at that for us.
Yeah, actually, we received a direct request, so that's already in process. Yeah.
Any other? No? Future agenda items?
I'd like to put on the agenda to revisit trying to do something with the Tiverton Drive land. I know we've tried twice unsuccessfully. I would, let's try a third time because it could bring in revenue to the town.
Any other future agenda?
Next, agenda, we get an update on the road paving that has been done so far and what we expect in the future. What's coming up in the future?
So the paving is complete for the 3 roadways, which was Lancaster Meadows,
Yeah,
Campground.
Fairbanks, and,
Campground Road.
thank you. And Mike had said he was very pleased with the work that was done. We did receive one call from a gentleman concerned that we had gone over the town line into Sterling a bit, so I did check with Mike on that. We went over by approximately 4 feet, and the reason for that was we had to establish the smooth pavement levels, which is, you know, that does happen at times. But no, Mike was very pleased with the work that was done.
We had a couple calls from residents who were very happy, very, very happy.
Okay, wait one second. I'm sorry. Do you have a question with regards to that or a future agenda?
I do have one other question, sir. The Woodland and the Prospect, the 4-way intersection, do we know when it is going to be open or closed?
I don't know, I'll check.
Okay, that was a future agenda, so we can look into that.
I'm just wondering where we stand on Malden Street again. Just, we keep asking about Malden, and
Yep.
I know I keep asking, and we just want to make sure this gets done. So I want some real information on our next meeting.
So with the approval of use of the Chapter 90 funds for the engineering, the engineering firm is moving ahead with making the modifications to the design to get ready to go out to bid. So they feel pretty comfortable that we will be able to get this out to bid at the end of the summer for construction in the fall. So we should be able to see that be done by the end of the construction season.
Do we really have to wait that long to get the bid out? Like that's, I mean, we've been working on this for how long? Selectmen, I mean, at least 2?
In their
Why is the delay for so long? I
In
know
their
we-
proposal, you saw that there's modification that needs to be done to reflect the work that had been done on the other section of Malden, so that takes that out of the scope of work and then, modifies quantities and things like that. So, they had said that would probably take them several weeks before they got to that point. They then put together all the bid documents. They also needed to, double check with our local permitting, conservation, et cetera, on that process. So, given that work that needs to be done, and given the length of time that you need to put the bids out before we actually have a bid opening date, that basically does bring us into July or so, assuming that we then have a contract award at the end of July, early August, and then the work would be done in early fall. So it's not an unreasonable time period.
Well, I would suggest if they could move that along, if we could get that out,
Yeah.
I'm just afraid of an early snowfall, and we're gonna end up in trouble, and we'll be sitting here again saying, it's on its way and it didn't happen. I know you're new to the headache, but, let's see if we can push that along at all.
Yeah. I would just ask that the future agenda items be put in the future, so we can, I know she gave us an update, so the public will know that we're speaking about it, but you can add to it.
For future agenda item, just an update on, because I know we asked Mike Kittredge to talk to the 2 landowners that wanted to tie into the water. I want to make sure they've been notified and they understand that construction is going to start, and they won't be able to dig into the road after.
Any other future?
I do. One of our long-time residents of West Boylston over the weekend turned 100 years. Her name is Miss Fran Milstead. Happy birthday. May God continue to bless you with good health and long life.
Okay, thank you.
And also one other thing, I do like to thank our West Boylston community for their support and elected me as a chairman, the Selectmen.
Go for
And-
Thank you.
And I would add to that 100-year-old birthday, if we can look where the cane, we were talking about it, Nancy, if we can find out where it is now and where it should, if it should be somewhere. I know we don't handle it, but maybe if we can ask the Historical Commission.
We can do that.
Right. And then for future agenda items, I'd like, I think Raj already asked, but Pinecroft, we've had a plan to do some work up there probably for 3 years now? 2 years now? So if we can just get an update on where that stands. I know the chief came to us a few years ago with his ideas, and it really, some work's been done, but not much. So I know you don't probably know a lot about it now, but
No.
if you could bring that up in the future. And the other thing I'd like to just bring up at the next meeting is we need to give an update on what's going on with the police station, because all that's out there now is rumors. We need to, at this meeting, talk about where it stands, where we're going, or where we're planning to go with it, what went wrong, what didn't go wrong, you know, anything we can have on that. And I guess if there's any action that can be taken against the person that gave us these numbers, I don't think so, but I know we paid him some money to give us an estimate. That was way off, so. if
So
we
we'll
could-
add it as a regular agenda item moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, because that way there, I mean, it'll be said here what's going on, and then the people will know where we stand instead of, I think, some rumors that we're getting. I'm sure we're all hearing about it. So, that would be my thought on that. No other, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.